just can't sew it on. I'm trying to tell y'all boys, I got a few songs I can sell y'all boys. I tried it back then, it was hell nah, boy. Now I'm in a box like a Kellogg's toy. The ones that hate me the most look just like me. You tell me what that means. Make a slick comment and see what that brings. I seen it go down, we can reenact things. Extreme like DMX sing. These boys pussy and they PMS sing. People in the city see the movement occurring and say, my God, I wanna be in that scene. Damn right you wanna be in this scene. She had the video trying to be in this scene. Used to fantasize about being this scene. Bluegrass girl, but she got big dreams. Can't touch me, I got instincts. Locked in the house, but I'm plotting things. I brought a gang to the party with me. 5 white boys, but they not in sync. They not in sync, no they not. Word to JT, no they not. Word to JT, no they not. No they not. No they not. Turn off the lights. Let the moon shine through the blinds. I can see mine. You know that I'm trying to get behind. Press on your spine. Oh, you're looking damn good. I can't even lie, I'm mesmerized. It's in you, it's in your eyes. That's that shit I like, that's that shit I like. That's that shit I put your hair back. That's that shit I like, that's that shit I like. That's that shit I wanna see your face. Let the moon shine through the blinds, I can see mine. And then you find, don't be nervous. You know that I'm trying to get behind. Press on your spell.
All right. Hope y'all are doing well. We're gonna go ahead and get started for today. Tell your friends that we're having class. Sorry about the late start. Having some problems with computers today. You know how it goes. All right, a few announcements. User studies are due today. As you know, you're supposed to this week be doing user studies. Quick question out to everybody. How many people were able to get their apps approved, or how many people are still waiting for their apps to be approved as of today? Let me know in the chat. Have you gotten your apps approved? Or are you still waiting? Let me know what's going on. Ooh, that's bright. Let me know what's going on in the chat with that. We got at least one approved. Somebody else, let me know what's going on. Approved. One still waiting. Lots of approvals. At least one still waiting. All right, so most of you are approved. At least one is still waiting. Remember, if you are still waiting and you need somebody to try your app, you're gonna have to use the emulator or something like that. Get creative. Doesn't have to be, they don't have to actually be out playing putt-putt, but they need to be kind of going through the motions of trying to play putt-putt. So hopefully everybody's able to do that. Now remember, you are going to need to regularly commit to the project. That's how we know that you've actually contributed to this project. It's one of the ways we know. And so if you haven't committed to your project in a while, remember at the end of the semester, that's going to be a big problem for you. Make sure you're committing to it and things like that. Another thing I wanted to ask about is regarding download goals. Is anybody... So people have gotten their apps approved. Some people are even, like means you're on the App Store. Has anybody made any progress on your download goals? Remember, first, I think it's like the first 2 groups to 1,000 get automatic A's. I'll have to look that up, but I think that's about it. Has anybody made any progress towards your download goals? We got one with 6 downloads, maybe our leader actually. So way to go. You've gotten some users to check it out. Anybody else made any progress towards their download goals or have any plan to make progress towards their download goals? Let me know in the chat. 13, boom, way to go. Remember, I don't know if you're actually pushing or marketing your app yet, but if you want to get 1,000 downloads, those don't come magically. You're going to need to kind of figure out how to market your app somehow. Reddit's a great tool for that. There's probably like some mini golf forum somewhere, either in Reddit or elsewhere. If you get somebody pumped about your mini golf app, you may get a bunch of downloads. There's a lot of people that play mini golf. turns out. All right, so some progress, but not a ton, nowhere near 1,000. Remember, mini golf is something that potentially half the world plays, not just America, but a lot of the world has mini golf opportunities. We're going to start getting closer and closer to summer where people are taking family vacations. And so if your mini golf app gains any traction at all, there is a lot more people than 1,000 in the world. Yeah, for instance, maybe in Finland they're really into mini golf. So it's a good chance that a group could easily get over 1,000 for such an app. All right. Today we are talking about dynamic layout. What do I mean by dynamic layout? This is just the concept that if we are, laying out content on a phone or an iPad-like thing, any kind of tablet, or a desktop, we have different situations that we're going to have to account for, different widths and different heights, and we're going to need to lay out potentially the same content or similar content in very different ways. And so the way we design UI and the user experience becomes in some ways a lot more complicated when you start thinking about, well, this person could open the app on an iPhone, on a huge mom and dad style phone that's, like barely fits in your pocket, or on an iPad, or even on a desktop. So we have to start accounting for these different ways of viewing the content that we're going to be serving to them, and then the different strategies for laying out these very similar, if not the same, content on different devices. Now, one trend that happens when you start thinking about this is one kind of way of attacking this is to have your normal site and your mobile site. And I've included a link, which I'm going to also put right here. Hold on a sec. Let me copy this for you. Let me copy this link for you. I don't know if I can actually. There we go. So I'm going to put this in the chat in case you want to check it out. It's a pretty cool link that kind of tells you a little bit of a discussion of why you might want to do a mobile-only site versus a full site that scales down, or just having a full site and that's it. But what I want to do, and again, these are mobile-only sites, okay? So this is like a site that is meant to only ever be seen on your phone. So that's kind of one strategy for dealing with these different size devices. This strategy is called mobile only, where if you're on a phone, it automatically redirects you to a mobile only site and you can only see that. Let's look at a few examples of these types of sites and see kind of how good they can look, for instance. I have a video that shows us just a few examples of mobile only sites. What we're looking for here is what these sites look like, how nice or how not nice they are, and things like that. Check it out. Here's example of 4 mobile-only websites, and see what they can potentially look like.
First is Abercrombie & Fitch. What really caught my eye about this website is how amazing their photography was. The entire website makes you look at it because of how minimal the design is. The stark white backgrounds, gray buttons really help bring out the colors of their beautiful imagery. In terms of navigation, they really do a great job of separating out each of the types of products they have so you can easily navigate the exact place you want to go to. On the product pages, you're first met with a beautiful image of the product you want to buy, accompanied with a slideshow of the rest of them, and a clear call to action that gets you to buy the product. So next we have Booking.com. They did a great job at showing you the information that really matters. On their homepage, you're met with a simple form that enables you to put in a couple parameters to search for a hotel, which brings you to a results page with just a couple details and the price about the hotels that you want to find. And better yet, if you don't know which hotels are the best, they have a little icon on the side that gives you an incentive of how many other people are also looking at that hotel. Ultimately, Booking.com did a great job at making sure that you see the details you need without bogging you down with too much information. So number 3, we have Hidden Valley. When I came to their website, I was actually surprised to see that what they show you isn't their products, but instead recipes. So normally when you go to a product website, you're expected to see products everywhere. But on Hidden Valley's website, they put the emphasis on the recipes and sneak in the products as key ingredients for the recipes. But by the way, you can't make this recipe unless you buy this product. So for number 4, we have Adidas. So like Abercrombie & Fitch, they do a great job at showcasing beautiful images of their products. On the homepage, they also have a set of categories that you can use to filter through the products you're looking for, rather than having to head to the navigation. On the product pages, they have a beautiful slider of all the images for that product, as well as a really simple drop-down menu to select size, quantity, and color. And if you're looking for reviews, you can scroll down a little bit more and see big, bold headers for each review without having to read through the individual reviews themselves. These 4 websites did an amazing job of making sure that you get the information you want without being bogged down with little details and information on a smaller device. If you're looking for more examples, we have another 4 in a blog article that we'll be linking down below in the description.
All right, so the point of that, again, was to give you some quick examples of, of good mobile sites. Now, I want you to take some guesses. What do you think some advantages of mobile-only sites are? Having just seen an example of several mobile-only sites, what do you think some advantages of designing for just, if somebody's on the mobile device, you're automatically taken to a different site, and that is designed specifically for your mobile phone. What do you think some advantages of designing in this way are? What are some advantages of designing in this way? There's over 30 people on the stream right now. I expect to get a few more answers than that. Get on in there to Minty 51024965. Let me know what's up. Let me know y'all are awake out there. Hello, 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 hello. Think about, too, for you as a designer, what are some advantages? All right, let's go for 1/3 of all people on the stream giving us an answer. All right, there we go. All right, so some interesting answers down here. This one's definitely true for sure, faster download speed. A really interesting one is wide audience of users and caters to a larger group of people. We are at the point, at least in the world, where mobile users actually outnumber desktop users. Now, in America, I'm not sure we're there yet, but we definitely have a lot of mobile users. So that's an interesting point. Faster download speed, again, is interesting because you can design a more simplistic one, and that's important. I mean, not simplistic, but you can scale down images, for instance, that can be smaller because phones only have so many pixels. So that leads to faster browsing and whatnot. Let's see. This is a great one that is starting to think about how it is to design these. Think about if you design your current app, you're thinking only of one type of kind of viewport, let's say. You're only viewing them on mobile phones. But if you were designing something for desktop, iPads, phones, whatever else that people, VR, I don't know, whatever else people can look at things on, it gets really complicated really quickly. So having only one kind of basic template of size is really nice for a designer. Okay, so another thing, like a more of an alternative to mobile-only sites, is to have responsive sites. Who thinks they know what a responsive site is? What do you think I mean by responsive site? Hit me up in the chat right there. What is a responsive site? Hello, hello, hello. Y'all are a little bit sleepy today. Not laggy. That is a great guess, but not what we're talking about here. I mean, that's a very logical guess. Very good. That's actually so a site that updates real time instead of needing to refresh to get a response. Yeah, I mean, it does that, but maybe a site that changes layout based on screen dimension. I'm liking that answer. That is probably the closest. Yep, a site that can switch between mobile and red. Wow, y'all really woke up now. I like it. Change styling depend on what kind of device it's accessed from. Absolutely. Automatically recognizes where things should be for different screen sizes. Yep. One that adapts to whatever platform. Yep. Changes between landscape and portrait mode. Yes. A site responds based on the user screen, and it basically functions in real time. All of these are great answers. I don't know what happened. Y'all all drank your coffee at the same time or something, but thank you. That is excellent answers. And that is exactly what we're talking about. Responsive sites. It's basically one site. It's downloaded to your device, and you could actually resize the site and watch it change between mobile mode when you make it real skinny, desktop mode when you make it fat, or like full size mode when you make it even fatter. This is actually the same website in 3 different levels of sizing, and it's downloaded once. It's a single site, but it just renders depending on how big it is. Let's take a look at a few responsive sites. As you can imagine, a lot of news sites and stuff like that are going to be responsive. But anyway, let's take a look at a few examples of responsive sites in action.
Hey everybody, this is Jim. How are you doing today? We're going to show you some examples of responsive design. Starting out with About.me, you can see as we adjust the width of the screen, the image moves along with it, and they also have different versions for the iPhone and iPad. This next site is from digital agency RGA, has some pretty interesting animation going on, which adjust as you fit the width of the screen, and only when you get to the phone size does it drop down into a single column with menus here. There's actually some great resources you can get to from here as well. This next example is a website from a designer and developer named Paul. Pretty straightforward, a lot of white space here, and as you go to a smaller size, everything adapts. His photo goes to the top, and then you can read everything vertically here. Next up is popular blogger Chris Brogan. You can see a very wide screen at its widest here, 5 icons across the bottom here, another 6 icons vertically, but as we adjust the size of the screen, let's bring it to about iPad size. You can see it starts to adjust and it'll kind of compact into 4 and fewer there. You keep going and his image shows up in the middle, and you can scroll down vertically this way, and then finally at its smallest size everything gets nice and compact and you can scroll and see those icons one at a time. Now let's look at some companies. This first one is a company called Illy, and they have 2 basic versions. This is the widescreen that has 2 columns, and you can see it adjusts that way, but once it crosses over it goes into 1 column and you can scroll vertically that way and see all of the products that they offer. The next website is from Kakao Tours, very well designed. You can see at its widest it has a very, very bold picture here. As it gets smaller, it's going to adjust into a 2-column layout with orange menu items across there, and you can scroll vertically to see all of the sections there. And then if you're on a mobile phone, as you get to a smaller image, the menu items go vertically this way and you see everything stacked as follows.
That one, I'm going to press play again, but that one is, they really put a lot of thought into wide, desktop, iPad, 2-column, phone. You could see that the user experience totally changed between those.
Next up is a website from Web Designer Depot. You're going to see it go from 3 columns to 2 to 1. So here's the 3-column layout. As you go across, it'll collapse into 2. And then as you keep going to a mobile phone size, you can see it goes into 1. Next up is content sites. This is Mashable.com. Notice the menu items along the top here, and you're going to see a 3-column layout. As the design gets smaller, it's going to compress the 3rd column and then eventually pop into 2 columns that you can see here. And then once it's on a cell phone size, it's going to go down to 1 column. And notice that you can access everything vertically, but the menus collapse into this area here. Next up, the 9th site is the Boston Globe, and this is one that's been praised across the design community. Multiple column layout here. Again, you're going to see the multiple menu items here collapse once we get to a smaller size. It goes from this size, a little bit smaller, continues to collapse, down to 3, down to 2, and then finally scrollable here with the sections as one menu item there. And then last but not least, my favorite, HelloFisher.com. This is a user experience designer. You can take a look at him in the top right and see that he has a 3-column layout to start. But as the width changes, he changes his photo to a different one, kind of throwing a punch there, still in the 3-column layout. As we keep going across, he goes to another expression, still in a smaller 3-column layout. He holds that expression as we go to 2 columns. He holds that expression as we go to a smaller, compressed 2 columns. And then finally, he's got a look of satisfaction as we go to 1 column, and you can see all of his content here. This has been Jim Hopkinson for the HopkinsonReport.com.
All right, so hopefully you have a good idea now of what a responsive site means. Let's consider, what do you think are some of the advantages of a responsive site? What are some advantages of having a responsive site, and especially as it contrasts to a mobile site? What do you think's better or worse or even just different about responsive sites? There are about 36 people in the stream right now, 1 person that likes the stream. Please, let's go for about a third of us getting in some good answers here to talk about what are some advantages of responsive. All right, great. So, interesting answers here. For instance, greater user experience. Is it a greater user experience? If I have a mobile phone, seems like it's a very similar user experience to it would be if it was mobile designed. I don't know if that one's true. You don't have to make 2 different versions for each page. That, to me, that makes a lot of sense. Easier to maintain? I don't know, actually, because then every change you make, you have to make sure it works on desktop and phone and iPad. Easier to use overall. Maybe, because it's smoothly goes between them. Maybe. Increase in mobile traffic. I'm not sure I see that one. It's less likely for desktop users to get the mobile version of the site unintentionally. Yeah, that's probably true. I like that one. Can be helpful for multitasking on the desktop. Ooh, very good answer. So if you're trying to squeeze in 2 screens on your desktop, one you're trying to maybe do some research on, one you're trying to take notes on, if you squeeze that one you're trying to do research on skinny, it'll just lay out in a very nice way. and you can still read it. So yeah, that's probably a good idea. So maybe you could say that that's better UX overall. And this is, again, along that same lines. Okay, very good answers. One thing that I want to kind of highlight that y'all have started to talk about is when you are designing responsive UIs, you have to, I mean, whether you go for like mobile only and then desktop only or responsive UI, you essentially have to do almost like two design activities, right? Like, here's a mock-up for a desktop or an iPad. Here's the same kind of content on an iPhone. You can see that we see the list here on the left, and the list is also here on the right. And there's these buttons here, there are the buttons here. All of the same content is going to have to show up, but in two different ways. So regardless of which type of approach we take, mobile only and desktop or responsive, you are still going to have to probably do extensive mockups for both, for actually I would say all three different types of form factors: desktop, iPad, and phone. So that's something you need to keep in mind as you are doing layouts. An interesting difference, again, we're just looking at the differences between apps on an iPhone versus iPad. iPhone kind of situation, you have like articles, usually like only a list of articles on the screen, and then to go to the details view, you actually go to an entirely new screen. When you have a bigger screen like a desktop or iPad, you'll have these items and then you'll have details even on the same page. So you can see how multi-page solutions become single-page solutions on bigger form factors. Now, an interesting problem is this. How do we specify layouts when we know, like for instance, in some cases, they're going to be very responsive or they're going to change depending on the sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so how are we going to specify these things? Are we going to like make some kind of pixel map? This shows up exactly here. This shows up exactly here. You could imagine that that breaks down. Like if you design a pixel perfect website for my phone, and my phone is just slightly different from your phone in terms of sizing, then that pixel perfect layout for your phone doesn't match the one on my phone. And so specifying layouts based on exactly where they are pixel-wise is a losing game, right? Because you're not going to do that for every possible phone in the world. So how do we go to specify layouts? Can anybody take a guess on how we're going to specify layouts? What could we possibly do besides like using pixel specifications to say, oh, this one's exactly here, this one's exactly here? What do you think we could do? Anybody have in the chat? Just take some wild guesses. What do you think we could possibly do? One way is to have like a fluid grid. One way is to use constraints. These are good answers. Flex boxes, good answers. Constraints relative to page borders, good answers. So what y'all are getting at and what I was trying to lead you to is we're trying to do this in a way that is not pixel perfect exact, but it's constraints or it's guidelines, like put them in this layout. Relative layouts is a good way to say it. And that's how we specify good layouts in UX. For instance, we don't want to lay out everything statically. We don't want to do pixels between items for everything. We don't want to do exactly the pixel size of everything. What we want to do instead is have things like grids and constraints. What do you think could go wrong if we specify everything in terms of exact pixels? This is just a quick one. Get out there. If we did everything like a pixel map, what do you think could possibly go wrong? Just hit me up in Minty real quick. What could possibly go wrong if we're going to specify everything in terms of the exact pixel placement of where it should be on a phone or iPad or desktop or whatever? what could possibly go wrong? Yes, UI overflowing past screen edges. If you made something a certain size and it was bigger than the phone, and it could overflow, getting cut off. Absolutely great. Too big on small devices, too small on large devices. Excellent, excellent. Overlapping elements, yeah. It's easier to make mistakes when you are kind of trying to pixel perfect specify everything. Only looks right on one device. Absolutely. So on a 4K screen, if you're working on a 4K screen and then you move to something else, yeah, it would be quite a change. There's so many different size devices. All right, these are great answers. I think y'all are starting to get the picture here. Excellent answers. Now, a couple approaches we can take to trying to lay things out in a reasonable way. One kind of this is a high level approach, but let's just say, making grids is a great kind of design principle. We talked a lot about it in the responsive layout, where we go from like 3 column to 2 column to 1 column. Having a basic grid system is a great way to specify a layout, and especially having certain number of columns or a certain number of grids per different size screens. Okay, so having grid as an underlying principle, and especially column as an underlying principle, is a great way, like a high-level way to approach this problem. However, when we start getting down to the nitty-gritty of things, we really end up doing what I would call, and what I think Android basically calls, constraint layouts. And that is, yeah, we have columns, we have things like that, and those are some of the basic building blocks, but we also then start specifying constraints rather than pixel perfect layouts. So the constraint being like, this box should be near this title. So this image and this title should be close to each other, but I don't care if they're like, let's see. And I want them to be basically centered in this device, but I don't care if there is like 5 pixel padding on each side or 10 pixel, as long as they're basically in the middle. We're just doing constraints. And you might have seen this in constraint-based layout with Android Studio. That's probably where you've seen this. So again, we're just specifying the constraints of where things can show up. Let's look at an example real quick. Here we have a button and 3 different size screens. The way we would specify this button, well, first of all, do you notice that this button is smaller than this button, is smaller than this button, but they're all the same button? You don't really notice it too much because they look the same, because they have the same amount of pixels on the bottom and the right padding. So the way that this has been specified constraint-wise is, hey, keep the padding on each side the same, and then just stretch the button to fill the space, okay? So this is kind of what I would call margin constraints example. We're keeping the margins the same, we're stretching the button to fill the space. Now, that's just one example of how you could use a constraint to lay out a single button. But let's look a little bit deeper into the constraint layout with Android. That's the most relevant for y'all, but it's also just a great kind of overview of how to specify things with constraints. So watch this short video before we do our activity for the day. Constraint layout, check it out. If you haven't seen this, I think this is a great, quick overview of how to lay out things via constraints.
Gradle. Now, create a new layout file with the constraint layout as the root view. Notice that in Android Studio 2.2, the layout editor gained a few new features, such as the blueprint mode, which you can use alongside the design view if you wish. On the right side of the screen, you can see the redesigned view inspector. Here you can switch between the commonly used view properties and the full list. The inspector also includes constraint layout specific layout attribute editors, which I'll show you in a moment. First, let's start by dragging an image view from the palette onto the blueprint. You can see that every view in a constraint layout has 4 handles on the sides: top, right, bottom, and left. Views that inherit from text view also have a baseline handle. To position views relative to each other, you can click and drag from one handle to another of the same type. Here I'm placing a text view in the layout and aligning it to the right of the image view by creating a constraint from the left handle. I'm also aligning the views vertically by adding a top constraint. The views are still a bit too close together, so I can adjust the margin by dragging the constraint view in Design Preview, or I can use the Properties window on the right. That looks better. The only thing that remains is positioning our views inside the parent container. By enabling the Show Constraints settings in the toolbar, I can see that there are currently no constraints pointing to the outer edges of the layout. My two views would simply get moved to position 0 at runtime. By connecting the top and left handles to the parent edges, I can specify how I want to position the views in the container. What if I want to center a view instead of gluing it to the left or right side of the screen? I'll create a new text view and center it horizontally within the layout by connecting both sides to the parent. You can see the view now has constraints pulling it both ways. Because constraint layout can't satisfy both constraints at the same time, the view remains centered. If you now look at the Properties window, you can see a slider called Horizontal Bias. By changing the percent value using the slider, I can influence the strength or weight of each constraint, which results in moving the view slightly to the left or right. You can also change the desired width and height of a view by cycling through 3 modes: Wrap Content, Fixed Size, and Match Constraints. You shouldn't be using Match Parent in constraint layouts, and use Match Constraints instead, which basically means that the view can grow up to the available space while still satisfying its constraints. To remove a constraint, click on one of the sides of the box shown in the Properties window, or click on a handle in the Design view. You can also delete all constraints on a single view by clicking here, or remove all constraints in the layout using the button in the toolbar. We're continuously improving both runtime performance as well as editor capabilities, so always make sure that you update to the newest version in the SDK Manager and your build files. And check out our code lab and
All right, so I think you guys got the idea. I know a lot of y'all have already figured that out because, of course, you're making apps. I've seen your apps, and I can tell you're probably using constraint layouts or for certain pages and stuff. But I think it's really important to know, all right, you can design the heck out of your page in Figma or whatever, but if you have no clue how to realize that as a layout, then that can severely handicap you as a designer. Even if you just want to be a designer, you need to understand the basics of how these things are being laid out by the developer, or else you will have a hard time creating a layout that's even possible. So just like an architect and an engineer, right? The architect needs to have know the basic constraints of what could possibly be built. You as a designer need to know the basic constraints of how people can actually lay out things so that you can create designs that are possible but also kind of easy to implement. So just wanted y'all to know more in depth about these constraint layouts. They are part of dynamic layouts, which is just the idea that layouts, designs are going to look different on different screens, and we're going to have to adjust to different screens constantly. And that is a challenge of designing for computers that is different from the challenge of designing on paper. Paper, again, you can make it pixel perfect, but because nothing changes, right? Okay. End rant. Now, today, what I would like for us to do, we're going to do this in class real quick, is you are going to test your app, your current app. However, and you're going to do that in Android Studio, you're not going to test it on a phone emulator. You are going to download a new emulator, any kind of tablet emulator for your Android Studio, and then you are going to run your app in that. I want you to upload any funny screenshots that you have of your app to this link. This is our photo. Now, the point is here, we want to find the most hilariously bad mistakes that happen when we show the exact same app on a tablet when we have designed it for a phone. Okay, whoever has the most kind of funny mistake here and they upload it to here may get some extra credit. So I'm going to give y'all just about in 8 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that, in order to get started on this. And I want you to upload it to this, to here. Again, what we're doing is we're running our app. We're uploading our app, and we're running it on a we're not uploading it. We're running it on a new emulator, a tablet emulator, and then we're gonna find hilarious mistakes, and we're gonna upload it to this particular album. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Upload hilariously bad mistakes to here, and that's what we're gonna be doing today. So take a few minutes, start making that happen. Hit the heart button maybe when you're done, so we can start looking at a few of these. I'll give y'all a few tunes to hang out, to do while you hang out, and let's go.
I'm everything that I said I'd be, everything that I bet I'd be. All the kids that I grew up with, they see me out and congratulate me. Couple of them just graduated, couple of them done had a baby. But all of them look at my life and say that's amazing. I say thank you like 20 times, try to talk about something else, reminisce on some funny time. Truthfully, I'm not comfortable with getting all the praise. Even more when y'all get to drinking and start telling me all the things that you really think. Like what I should have done differently, what you think of my energy, the downsides that come with being friends with me. I can tell you think this is the realest that anybody's ever been with me. But luckily I got PG, and luckily I keep them with me. I keep it humble so you can have a good time. I keep it light so you can have a little shine. And I sleep at night just fine. I tried to be kind, now I'm speaking my mind. How you got the vocals, just make them like a little less harsh, something like that, but it's in that good world. Right here. Yeah. Once people lose touch with you, they start to hate you, start to show you their true nature, start to be the ones in the comments that's talking about you like you a stranger. Talking about you like y'all didn't have class together. Talking like you're not humble now or you acting better. Speaking on the things you've done that they haven't ever. I play the game, you watch the game like Adam Schefter. I created this added pressure. I'm the one that made Jack get better. Tone it down, I could never. Oof. All the grades caught all the hate. All the rappers I love most at one point got called a fake. Everybody seemed to know the song that I ought to make, know the route that I ought to take. I put too much work in to just call it fate. But I keep it humble so you can have a good time. I keep it light so you can have a little shine. And I sleep at night just fine. I tried to be kind. Now I'm
Hit the heart in Minty when you're done.
I told your brother this, I'm gonna tell you this. This is probably advice I've given you frequently, and probably will continue to give it to you frequently because it's made a difference in my life. Take some moments today during the shoot to look around. Look at the faces of all the people you brought together. Watch their reactions. Look at the joy on their faces. Take a moment to really absorb what you've created, what you're creating, and try to savor it. I know that you and I are built the same and that it's never enough. There's always some other thing we want to accomplish, but just lean back for a moment today and really comprehend the greatness that you've made. Love you, babe.
All right, y'all do it. Y'all done, or you need just a few more minutes? Few more minutes, or are you done? Hit me up in the chat. Let me know. Few more minutes, or are you done? Yeah. I thought so. Just a few more. I'll give you just like 2 more minutes, and then we will take a look at what we got. If you don't have any issues, just upload what it looks like.
Can't keep letting shit slide. Thought that I would change, but I'm the same guy. Blamed it on my youth, but I know I've had time. And when it comes to you and I, all that I ever did was tell lies. Am I gonna keep this up till I die? Does it add up when you do the bad stuff? Time keeps moving past us. If they gon' shoot, then I pray they end up shooting past us. Temptations that I knew to pass up, but I didn't. When I said I love you, know I really thought I meant it.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and look at a few here.
I'm no longer a kid.
Let's see what it looks like.
In the plan, I wanna do the right thing, man, that's all I'm saying.
All right. Let's take a look at some real quick. Looks like we got some good submissions. All right, this one looks pretty normal. So no big deal here, actually. I mean, I can't remember exactly how this one works, but it doesn't look too crazy. Maybe a little bit of extra white space. Yeah, seems fine. Ooh, this one looks nice. I'm gonna be honest. This one has always looked pretty nice. One thing I want you to notice is that they have grabbed the space. They have expanded to match the whole space. Very nice. So it looks like it still makes sense even though it's on a totally different form factor. Yeah, I like this one. But whoops. When you have a image that is, this might be our winner for extra credit. When you have an image that is like not quite as big as the entire space, yeah, that's gonna be a problem. So, but again, we're not trying to like make fun of people today. This is something that you couldn't have anticipated that I was going to ask you to do. This is a great example. Thanks for sharing, whoever this was. Yeah, I mean, this one's okay. On this, not great, but not bad. Could have grabbed space maybe if you wanted to. Yeah. Oh, cool. They gave us the before, after, and you can tell there's a lot of kind of weird space over here that maybe you wouldn't like. This looks like it's filling the whole space. Looks cool. It looks better. And this has a lot of weird space over here, so you can see the difference. And yeah, this looks pretty normal, actually. I don't know. That might actually be a phone. I don't know. Aha. Great. This is a great example as well. You can see this was made exactly, potentially for that exact model of the phone they've been testing on. Something to keep in mind, you want to make sure it at least works for other size phones, or else you'll have this. This obviously is not supposed to be like this. That's not great. Should have maybe like expanded. Oh yeah. So this is actually kind of good and bad. This they expanded it to fill the space of the entire whatever device it's shown on, but you can tell that stretched the picture, and so that's not what you would want to actually do. For phones it's probably fine because you don't even notice like a little bit of stretching or whatever, but for an iPad it really stretches and it really flattens out that mini golf, so that's kind of a problem you'd want to fix. And let's just see if we got any more coming in. Those are pretty great though, I must say. Let's look at a couple more. This one looks good. They've grabbed across. That's no big problems there. Yep, that's not great. That looks like things got kind of smushed up there. That didn't work out so well. They got too smushed. And that actually looks like it did okay. No big deal there. Again, that one's all right. I think we've seen all these. Great. Thank you for uploading these. Hold on a sec. That's not what I want. Shoot. Okay. All right, so that's it for today. this is the end of today's class. What I want y'all to do, though, is get in on the Gradescope, and there is a new Gradescope assignment. It is just to upload kind of what you've done here today, before and after on your app. Get your before and after on your app there. And, yep, that's what we're doing today. That is the end of the class today. Thank y'all for coming. Hope you have a great weekend, and I will see y'all on Monday. I'll ask any questions right here. Actually, I'll add a slide so y'all can ask questions in case you have any. But otherwise, you're going to be uploading in Gradescope both the before and after, meaning the regular app on the phone and then the after on the tablet. Okay, before on the phone, after on the tablet. That's what I want you to upload. Great question. Before and after. You can do it in one pick, or it can be in two picks. Everyone should turn this in, not one per group. Here's another question here. Our demo video kind of cuts off the person to keep it at 30 seconds. Is that okay? Yes, that is okay. We just wanted to see the first 30 seconds. So no problem there. Let me know if you got any other questions. I'm leaving in about 30 seconds if I don't get any more questions. Again, this is everyone turning in stuff for the Gradescope thing. How much do you expect us to commit on a project? Just to want to call out that is near the end of semester. And we, yeah, understand. I'm feeling it too. I know y'all are too. You are not supposed to be committing like crazy or anything. It's really just to show. It's really relative. If I give your group, a certain grade, and then I see that like Joey has committed 100 times and Sally has committed 100 times and then Bobby has committed 1 time, that's not going to look good, okay? You just want to like show that you are a contributing member of your project. It is not like it's not any kind of arms race. It's not any kind of anything other than making sure that you were a functioning member of your project. So don't get too stressed out about that. So if we all do nothing on your project, we're good. Well, there is some bare minimum stuff, and also you'll fail your group deliverables if you don't do great. And people, I'm interested to see in the chat whether you guys liked Verbella or not. I thought that was pretty fun. I liked it. Maybe we can do that again sometime. People are asking 1 per group for the class activity. It is 1 per person, and just so you know. All right. No, just go to gradescope.com. This is just type in Gradescope. I don't know what to tell you if that's too hard to get to. Verbella party last class. That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. All right. Thanks for that idea. That's great. All right, I gotta run. I will see y'all later. Have a great weekend. See y'all on Monday. Gradescope due today. That's super easy. And yeah. Okay, I hear you on that. If I remember, I will try and add it to Canvas. But I'm not sure I really understand that issue. mean, I understand that it could happen. Computers are annoying. Sorry about that. All right, I got to run for today. Understand. Hope you all have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Great interaction today. Way to be interactive during class. See y'all.